Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In PHP, we are going to discuss SQL injection. There are three things we need to discuss: what is SQL injection, how SQL injection work, and how to protect your website from SQL injections. The first thing is first we need to know how the system interacts with a simple database system. Suppose you have a website and having a database. Mostly the username and password are stored in a database in a tables. So how a user communicate with that database? Entering username and password and authenticating, and then grant access to website. And a simple word, user send username and password in a binary bits to a database. In a database, authenticate the username and password with that tables, whether this username exists. If it is exist, whether the password is correct or not. If the password is correct, then it is grant access to this to that user. Now, how SQL injection work? SQL injection inject some malicious code with that username and password, with that message, and then send this malicious code to database. And if your database is not protected from SQL injection, it will grant access to the malicious user, to hacker, to unauthorized users, and so on. This is the thing which we have discussed in the previous slide. The first step in SQL injection is the hacker identify vulnerability SQL driven websites and inject malicious SQL query with input data. It simply adds some malicious code in the username password message. The second phase is the malicious SQL query is validated and command is executed by the database. And the third, the hacker is grant access to view and alter records or potential acts is a database administrator. So the hacker is grant access to your database. This is how the SQL injection work. So SQL injections attacks are types of flow in the code. If you have a flow in your code, then SQL injections attacks can happen to your website or your app, and it is also called cyber attack, to hijack back-end process and access and it access to some resources of your database. 27.8% of the application have in SQL injection vulnerability on initial scale. How a user or attacker do when he get access into your website? The attacker can access to your resources, your information, he can extract, he can see, he can change, he can delete your confidential information from the database. And now we are practically checking how the SQL injection work. We are using XAMPP server. You need to install XAMPP server and start the Apache, and also start MySQL. Click on the admin of MySQL to open MySQL admin side. So the MySQL admin side is open. Now I create one of the database. The name of the database is test, and then I create one table for users which contain the user name and password. There are two users which we entered, two record is entered into it. The first username is admin and the password is also admin. The second username is Khan and the password is 1 2 3 4 and 5. These are the two users in the database which we created in our system. Now you need to create a form like that which contain username, which take username and password and submit button. The code for this form is, this is the code. So user form to submit data, body form. The method, there are two methods used to send data from the user form to the server. The first method is the get method, and the second method is the post method. Post method is more secure than the get method. We are going to apply SQL injection on both method. First we need to send data through get method, then the data is sent to the server except is another, suppose your server website page.php, and there are two labels. The first one is the username, and the name which we are giving is username. The second one is the password. The password name is password, and the third is the submit button. So this is the code for the page of entering data. Now the server.php contained code like server accept data. First we need to connect to our database, so we take a variable $CONN connect, new MySQLi. This is localhost is the website name, root is the username of the database, password is empty, test is the database, which database we are going to connect, want to connect. So the connectivity is test. This is your database in your code. So if it is connected, if it is not connected, it will show a message like unable to connect to your database and show your error. So this is how we are going we connect with the database. The second is the username and password. So through get we send data from form to the server through get. So through get, username is the name of the field, is the name of this field, user name, and password is the second field name. So pass is equal to get password. SQL selects Derek from user is the table name in my database, in my test database, where username is equal to this username, where username field must be equal to this username, and password of that table must be equal to the password which is given in the form. If these both are equal, then it is grant access to the users. So here we run the query, result is equal to MySQLi query connect if it is connected, and SQLi is the query which compare the record. Either it return true or false, then we are going to check whether MySQLi fetch result. This is the query, whether the row is fetched or not. The row will be username and password. If check, if it means a row is being selected, then print successfully connected, else not connected. So this is the code for a simple input form to the server. Now we are going to check our code. So we run this form and enter. We have two user, and the first one is admin with password admin. If we enter the username admin, the password admin, and submit, successfully connected, successfully. The second username is Khan with password 12345. If we submit, it is successfully connected. If we try, suppose another username Asad with any password, like suppose this one, submit, not connected, failed to connect. If you enter a wrong password, it will does not going to give you access to the database. So how now this is a simple way of sending authenticating the username and password. Now how SQL injection work? SQL injection, suppose we give a simple asset, I do not know the username and password is this one. If I submit, it show not connected, failed to access. Now we send the data through get. So the get show the username is asset, the password is this one. In a simple way, malicious code is like, we need to change asset, we remove this asset, simple this comma with or space 1 is equal to 1 double hyphens space. This malicious code tell the browser and tell the database checking both of the username and password. It tells that either or we use or either one of the username or password must be correct. So the username, it show 1 is equal to 1 is always correct, and it means show that the username is correct, grant access to the user. If we enter, so it show connect successfully. It is a simple method to inject your SQL connection in your database. Now the second method is how to inject your malicious code when the database is a little bit secure and using the post method. So for post method, we need to change this method to post. Post is more secure than the get method, and then we need to use post. Also we need to change this one is to post and save this form as well as server.accept form. Now we need to check again, refresh. Admin with admin is the right password, submit, connect successfully. It does not show the remaining information like username, password and so on. Now we are going to enter like any username with any password and submit. So it does not connect, not connected, failed to connect, and does not show the username and password. So how to run your malicious code through SQL injection? Simply type the same malicious code like comma or space 1 is equal to 1 double hyphens and space, and any type of password. If you do not want to give password, submit. It is connected successfully. So both the method are not secure for SQL injections. We need to see this is how SQL injection work. There are many methods for SQL injection, and many ways to protect your website from SQL injection. So how to protect your website from this type of attacks? For simple, we use the post method. The post method is more secure because it does not show the username and password in the URL. So we use simple post method, and then we need to use method like MySQLi escape string. So we simply used post username. So we need to secure this through these functions like we need to cut it, paste it at the end, also cut this string, paste it at the end, and remove this comment sign and make these commits. Now we simply used the username, simple username, but we used a method called MySQLi escape string. If connected, then use the post method, post method username. And this is another way to use another method, like either used SQLi escape string or used real escape strings, the real escape string and post method. In post method, simple, you need to add these method in your code to prevent SQL injection in your code. So I save this code and run the code again, like admin. First we need to check whether our real username password work. It is worked successfully. Admin and admin work. Now admin and admin1, suppose if we enter, it show that not connected. Malicious. Now we are going to check malicious code. R1 is equal to 1 double hyphens space, suppose any password, and hit. If we hit not connected, failed to connect, it means that the malicious code does not work. Now if we used the MySQLi escape strings both for both username and password, or used real escape string for both of the field username and password, then SQL injections would not work on your database. There are also other methods to prevent your website from SQL injections, but this one is the simplest method. You need simply to add either this method or this method in your code while catching your attribute from the form. So if there is any questions, please ask in the comment section or through WhatsApp.